still there? Got makeup on my headphones already. Ooh. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I'm on. I'm on. This is my first time ever doing a live video podcast. My first. And this podcast is Akashi Media Podcast Live with Variety Chenevert, also known as the daughter of Florence Ballard, the founder of the Supremes. And I am here today because I am answering questions or responding to questions that have been on my YouTube channel, Akashi Media Channel 1217. Oh, y'all been so dirty and nasty and everything to me, saying all kind of stuff about me. I'm not real, I'm not this, I'm not that, and everything. I got a lot of hate, but I've always had haters. I've always had people that didn't like me ever since I was a little girl and a little baby. So here it goes. Okay, I have a lot of things going on in my life right now, dealing with my daughter, my personal life with my daughter. And I filed some papers with the court because of my daughter and the relationship with my daughter that has been in Detroit, Michigan. What has happened in my life is I moved to Detroit, from Detroit, Michigan in 1993 to California to pursue my career in filmmaking. In Michigan, back home in Michigan, I was already in the business of broadcasting. I went to college there. I worked at a radio station there. I worked on a couple films there, Hoffa, Zebrahead. I hooked up with a good friend of mine by the name of Michael Patrick Jones, who owned Greco Films as well. And we became real good friends over the years and stayed in touch off and on and stuff. We were really close there. I worked with General Washington in Detroit, Michigan at Veterans Communication. I was his camera operator. I worked with Mary, and I was her production assistant there as well, working with Brian Piccolo, who everyone knows from The Scene and the New Dance Show. I worked with Carmen, who was a Tina Turner impersonator. I worked with her. I got my FCC Lifetime radio broadcast license as well in Detroit, Michigan. I worked with Barden Cablevision. I did producing there as well in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was local news anchor. I did local news there with public access with Grand Rapids Television, Channel 56. I went to college there as well, and then I moved back to Detroit for a moment. And also while I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I hooked back up with my childhood love, baby love, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who was also still there in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the time. And He is my husband in my Tom Thumb tribal marriage, Native American, African, Asian marriage. He's my husband in that aspect. We were married by our parents in Detroit, Michigan when we were kids. So there it is. We traveled from Grand Rapids, Michigan to the West Coast together. And he got there first, got the place, got a place to live. I came out from Detroit, lived with him in Las Vegas and his father. He called me back home like 2 weeks later and was like, hey, I got a girlfriend. I said, what the fuck? You got a girlfriend already? What are you talking about? Damn. You move so damn fast. And then he was like, well, I told you I might be seeing other people. I said, I know, but damn, it had to be so damn quick. So he's always been an honest person about women, though. And he met Josie. Josie Harris is who he met and who he was seeing, who was Janet Jackson's background singer. I mean, not singer, dancer, who happens to also be my relative. Kill two birds with one stone, didn't you, Floyd? And he was trying to be slick, too. So when I moved there, Josie was there. She was visiting him and everything. And Floyd was like, you can continue to, live here with me and everything, but I'm ready to buy a house. I said, okay, cool. You can be there with my mom, and my brothers and sisters are coming out from New York. I said, okay, cool. But I got to go to school. I'm going to college out in Los Angeles, and that's the thing, me coming back and forth and everything. So that was the, agreement thing that we had going on. But Josie ended up moving in and everything, and she was like, he going to be a boxer, and I'm ready to get up on this and get these kids. And that's how it was going down. That's what went down with our relationship. We had an amicable, I won't really say split. We had an amicable departure, more so. We didn't really have a breakup. It was more like he went his way, doing whatever he was going to do. He had school and stuff. He was still in school and everything. I'm a few years older than Floyd, but not that many years older. I went to school in California. The earthquake hit, and when the earthquake hit and everything, he came out to see my daughter and I. And because at the time, my phones and everything wasn't on. Earthquake, everything was crazy. The streets were split and open. The aftershocks were going. The buildings were rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and everything. My best friend Darren had came out from Detroit, Michigan as well, and he was living with us when the earthquake hit. It was weird as fuck experience. I said, I'm dying. This must be the last day of life for everyone on earth and everything, because, man, God must be mad for real, But it was just that, I guess he just played on what I said years ago, 20 years prior to that. In 1974, there was an earthquake, and Diana Ross, who is my cousin, called back home and said, yeah, we just had the earthquake. I'm all right. Woo, 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 woo. I said, I'm still coming out there. And everything. And I did. I came out there 20 years later, 1993. So earthquake didn't scare me, but it scared me that time. So it was like a wake up to what I said, and God met me at that level. I guess of faith or whatever, And so I had already been saved and everything. I got saved December the 19th, and I had actually received the Holy Spirit that day. But I knew I was going to get the Holy Spirit because something was weird about the apartment that I had moved in. I moved into an apartment, my first apartment in Hollywood, which is located on North Vendome. And I moved into this apartment, and I started speaking in tongues, and my stomach started rolling and rumbling and rumbling. I was like, ooh, I'm speaking a different language. What's going on here? Woo, woo. And then when I got to a church I went to in Inglewood, it was an apostolic church. The lady just laid her hand on my stomach, and I just went flourish. And it just came on out. So I did receive the Holy Spirit and everything. And I'm glad that I came to California because I was able to receive the Holy Spirit, because a lot of things happened to me in Detroit. I was around people who believe in voodoo, witchcraft, black magic, putting stuff on me, the Ouija board, putting curses on me and stuff like that. People just hated me like that. Um, and that's just how it was. But I felt like I needed to move on, and I prayed about leaving Detroit, and I did, and I left for all the right reasons. So my daughter and I had been living in Detroit, California, and with Floyd Mayweather back and forth with our relationship um, during that time, and Floyd came out to see us in West Hollywood, and I had an apartment out in West Hollywood, California. By that time, he had came over there when everything was, settled with the earthquake and everything. He came to check on me. That's a real man. I love you for that, Floyd, for coming to check on me, making sure I'm all right and my life is intact. I love you for that. I'll never forget that. And that was the day that we were talking, and he said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing with this relationship I'm in with this other person. I'm not really feeling it. It feels kind of not right for me. I said, well, you can just stay here and move in. I mean, right now, just a few little bedrooms, but we can just move to a bigger place. You me there than I. So he was like, okay. He just stared and looked at me like, okay. And then that was the day that I actually gave him a ring, I think. I either gave him a ring at my place or I gave him a ring at his home in Nevada. Which one did I place a ring? No, I gave him a ring in Nevada because we came out for Memorial Day. He had brought us out from California to his place in Nevada, Memorial Day. So, yeah, I gave him a ring and stuff. I gave him a ring, and I let you know I love you. No matter what you decide with our relationship, I'm still always going to be here for you. I'm always going to be your Tom Thumb marriage wife, your first love, the first one who taught you how to dance. We danced together on a song called My Starship at my parents' house during their birthday party, and it was my father's birthday, which was actually June the 5th. And Floyd is going to be fighting June the 6th. Years later, I lost my father, and my relationship with my daughter has been really different and heartbreaking. Actually, my daughter's birth is August the 26th, 1987. My dad was being buried the same day of my daughter's birthday, August the 26th, 1975. 6 months before my mother's death. My father was murdered, shot, and killed. So, that's it. I'm going into this because a lot of people say a lot of things about me in Detroit. It's been a lot of stuff being said, and it's been said from people who claim to be my people, my family, and stuff like that. And I have been doing a lot of working on myself internally, on myself and everything. And I did my ancestry background test, and I found out some things about myself that were great, that I loved. I knew I was Indian and everything, but a lot of things happened with me in my life when my parents died, my grandmother died, and things like that. So that's what I'm going into today, because I am Florence Ballard's daughter, and because I have another Nicole that has been out there who is related, but Maxine's, as far as I know, daughter and cousin. That's what she always told us when we were at her house. But she at one time thought she was my sister, because I remember her running over to me, and Maxine looked at her and said, that's your cousin, the way she said it. So that was the situation. And then there was a event that Mary Wilson invited me to, called up the woman that had been keeping me after my mother's passing. And she was going by Marlene Scott, but they called her Patricia. And Patricia was supposed to be her name. So we got different name changes with a lot of people. I changed my name over the years from the name that they gave me, which was Rosalind, to Variety. And my name has never been Rosalind. My name has always been Nicole. Everyone's called me Nicole. All the Jacksons called me Nicole. Joe Jackson called me Nicole. In fact, Joe Jackson came one time and said he was at the house with my mom, and we was getting ready to, start preparing for my father's birthday party, Bones' birthday party. Bones was Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s father's best friend at the time. They grew up together as childhood friends. And he asked my mother, Florence, he said, why are you calling her that? Why are you calling her Rosalind? And he said, that's not her name. He said, that's not her name. Call her by her name so she know what her name is. She knows that's her name. Her name is Nicole. And she said, oh, my sister want me to call her that. He said, nah, call her by her name. Call her by her real name. That's who she is. And the thing with the name thing, with the Rosalind and the Rhonda, was told that whenever we were together at that time and we were having gatherings together and photographs that were going to be taken either by media or someone there with a camera, if Rhonda and I were together somewhere playing and we were close in contact with each other, when the photographer or someone was off to the side, they would go, Rhonda or Rosalind. And what Dina said was, Debbie said was, when you call, because everyone was talking in the room, but I could hear them when they was talking. If you call them by Rosalind or Rhonda and in this commotion, both girls are going to turn around and look and respond. Because they're not going to know which name you're calling. Because it sounds very similar and alike. Rosalind and Rhonda. It sounds similar. So that was the thing. So that's why you have photographs of me and Rhonda out there in the media. And there are pictures that people say that it's Rhonda. That's not Rhonda. That's really me. And I know what I look like. So I've been going through this thing where we have parents here who basically have erased my parents. Like, I'm not supposed to remember who my real parents were. And they come along and say, this is your father, this and that. When people pick a father, whatever they've done over the years, I'm like, no, that's not my dad. So, there have been conversations over the year. I've been with this person. Tommy Chapman has been all in the media with a guy with the name of Thomas Chapman. Thomas Chapman is nobody. He's an invisible man. And that man that was at the funeral name was not Thomas Chapman. His name was Richard. That was my uncle. That was my mother's brother. Everyone knows him. He just died in October of last year. He has a son named Kevin. He has a son named Bruce. He has a daughter named Karen, a daughter named Dina, and a daughter named Marty. And Marty and Bruce are fraternal twins. A lot of this has transpired over the years and everything, and I have come out for the past couple years, since about 2016, to clear up what was put out there in the media. I have come out to correct the media, and people have had a problem with that. They have had a problem with me being honest about who I am. So, I was very busy. When I say busy, I have been very busy over the years. I was so busy over the years, I didn't even get on YouTube. I didn't get on MySpace. I didn't get on Facebook probably until, my God, maybe 2012, maybe? You know, I haven't been on all that stuff like that. I've been busy, you know? So I just started really getting into all that. So when I finally got into YouTube, something came upon me and said, search Florence Ballard Daughters. And I decided to search. And I searched Florence Ballard Daughters, and there pop up this thing in 1995, Florence Ballard Daughters, homeless in Detroit. Then again, this another thing later on, 2010, Florence Ballard Daughters homeless. I wasn't homeless. I was in 1995. I was in film school at UCLA. Things that they were saying in the media, oh, my grandmother gave me this house. That's not my grandmother's house. That's not Lorelei Ballard's house. I know where my grandmother lived. Then they were in this video walking away from the house on Wyoming Street that I grew up with Marlene, also known as Patricia. I know what 8261 Wyoming looks like. I lived there until I was 18. Left home at 18 years old. I had my daughter at 19. Or I left at 19. Because I was pregnant with my daughter when I left and moved to Grand Rapids. Bizarre shit. And when you deny me, that showed me you hate my mother, Florence. I'm just letting people know. That's just how I feel. I don't need anything to deal with anyone dealing with Motown or anything. That's my mom. I was born to brown skin and everything. So, I am coming out about a lot of things because people are stuck in 1970s. They stuck in the mind of things that they've done in the past and what they have gotten away with in the past. And because they have their clique, their crew, their cult, their people that's down with them, their gangs, and I've been by myself with nobody because they tore everything away from me, my parents, my family, my daughter. You know, they have continued to abuse and neglect and take away from. Want to change in and change out and all this other stuff. So this stuff is in my book. I have a book that's coming out. That's actually out, ready for public thing. There were just some things we went over for it. And the book is called Rich and Famous, Famous and Broke. My mother, Florence Ballard. When the lights went down, they called her Penny. Everyone called my mama Penny. And Aunt Florine, her nieces and nephews called her Aunt Florine. That's my mama. I had pity banks. My mother saved a lot of money while she was in Motown. A lot. A lot of family members saved their money in penny banks, Kathy candy, tin cans, everywhere. Television sets, socks, boxes, you name it. We didn't have bank accounts back then. It was old school way. And my mother used to tell me, every penny counts. Every penny counts. And ever since I titled that book, I pick up a penny every day. Or a couple pennies every day. And it's related to my My nickname, she called me Copperhead. Um, I uh, every time I see a penny, I just say thank you, Mama. I know it's you. And I've burned Josh money, which is Asian money, fiat money. It's called heaven money, and I burned money to send to them to heaven, and that's what I've done. And I sent her a couple $1 billion, $12 billion, and I sent her a couple $1 trillion because she was financially strapped when she passed. So I passed on some money when she was here on earth. And I believe in the scripture when it says what's done on earth is also done in heaven. And I gave her my piggy bank. She said when we were going through tough times, I said, Mama, you can have my piggy bank. You can have my money. Because I looked at it as her money too. It was still her money. She put it in there, you know. I was so unselfish. And she saw. And then she went and got my dad. And they got the wraps together. And they put all the coins in the wraps, opened up the banks and everything, and it was like $16,000 in there, and all those piggy banks. I had 3 banks. Couldn't even lift them up off the floor. And we weren't homeless for 24 hours because we got home the next day. But we did still do the Jet magazine article and photo shoot at a couple homes that we had. And we was living at another home around the corner that we had, and that house was a rented house. And we've lost the Berry Gordy Motown lawsuit, and my dad was upset, hysterical. My dad made a bet, obviously, on something or something, and whatever it was, the agreement or whatever he did, or they killed him, got him murdered. But my dad told me the next day, he said, the Motown thing is over, baby. It's over. It's not going to be no more of this, no more magazines, no more TV, no more nothing. I was like, okay. And he said, Daddy got to show you what he does for a living, really. Right now, the real deal, what's going on with me, and the real life, and the hustle, life of a hustler. And my dad took me to one of these operation things he does with the mafia, and walked in with me. There were cops there, detectives there, dressed in regular uniform, money, jewelry, dope, everything. Operation Get Down, that's what it was called. That night, my father was supposed to go with them to do whatever they do. And I guess my daddy wanted me to see what it was and who he was with, and I did. He thought the guy was a friend of his, the white guy. I learned real quick. You can't be friends with white cops. You know too much. Don't ever think that you can be friends with police officers, detectives. They'll kill you. They'll murder you. I don't give a fuck what you do with them, how you party with them, how you travel with them. They'll kill you. They killed my father. As far as I'm concerned, I guess they killed my mother too, in their own way. But I was there, with my mother's body, so I know a lot of things have transpired with her. That's in my book, and I'm not going to really go in. Bye, Trey. Um, it's been very hard growing up without parents. Very hard. Lies. Everybody wanted to blame everything on Motown. Maxine, my mother's sister, even blamed Motown publicly, social media wise, on my mother's death. Florence Ballard. Didn't want to say that. That Berry Gordy killed her. That Motown killed her. I love Berry Gordy. He wanted to take me to California with him because he felt I deserved a better life than Detroit. And there was an argument with him and my mother's sisters. They didn't want me to leave. But he threatened them, and he said, you know, if I take you to court, I'll win. He said, I'll win. Berry Gordy, as far as I'm concerned, didn't kill my mother. And if you want the truth, then you're going to have to hear it from me, because I'm Nicole. I'm my mother's daughter. I got a gap in my teeth. I made that gap, just so y'all know, from toothpicks and stuff. I wasn't born with a gap. That was made with toothpicks and picking my teeth and stuff. I'm just looking at it, because there are people in the family that got gaps, and I don't have a gap. I wasn't born with a gap. That's not something that I was born with. But no, Berry Gordy did not kill my mother, Florence Ballard. I don't feel that. I don't think that. I know there were things that was going on with my father. There was the mafia involved. Maybe it was surrounding around the death of her, just like it was with my father. But I feel what kept my mother was maybe that could have happened, but other people knows what happened, because other people have made confessions in Los Angeles, California, about what happened to her, to their own best friends in California. And my mother had a woman who was a lesbian, who was obsessed with her, who wanted her, and her last name was Chapman. Her name was Gladys Chapman. My mother told her, actually that day of my dad's birthday party, that they couldn't be more than friends, as girlfriends. They could just be cool. Because my mother didn't want a woman. My mother loved my dad. She had an attitude about it. I was in the living room, and she walked out of the bedroom and said, if I can't have you, nobody can. And I stood in the living room floor and looked at her. And I was like, so she wanted my dad. Florence Ballard wanted my father, not a woman. That led to my mother's death. One of the things that led to my mother's death. This woman was a lesbian. She was a dirty ass lesbian. She was a lesbian that set up rapes on women. She had a call it? What's the name for that? I can't think of it, but she had a thing for light-skinned girls and light-skinned women, obviously, something like that. And she couldn't have them. She set rapes up. She set up a rape on a woman that was in a music group that we had in Michigan. I just see them all the time. I miss them too. I haven't seen anyone since my mother died. She set a rape up on another woman to be raped by some men in a house. And you can hear it. She was the type of woman that she would set up a rape, and then after the rape, she wanted you to come lean on her, cry on her shoulders, so she can console you. That's the way she wanted to get you, through rape of men. 'Cause she didn't like dick. So when I look at my mother's tombstone and I see Chapman, it's basically her way of saying, I married you anyway, bitch. I got you anyway. And your kids. So, anyone in Motown, Detroit, or anything who knows who I'm talking about, but you know it's true. And you know I'm not lying about it, but it's in my book. You can read about it. I'm just giving you a little insight of what's in my book. That's definitely in it. That was more than one thing that led to my mother, Florence Ballard's death, but that's one of them. A lot of shit was going on back then. I traveled with my mother a lot. I have a guy named Donald that I ran into. He remembered me as a child, and I ran into him not long ago. He asked, are you going to put Diana Ross in your book? Very little. I'll talk about Diana like I talk about her now. I mean, Diana taught me how to read and write. She was my babysitter. You guys have read in the papers and the media that Diana was my babysitter. She was my babysitter. You know. And I thank God for her for that, because that's the reason why I was able to give my address and telephone number, not the address, and my name and my location and where I was located, to call for help from my mama. She was lying on the living room floor. It's because Diana Ross taught me how to read and write. She told me, you gotta learn about your surroundings with people. And I was about 5, 6 years old when she was teaching me. I was ready to go to school. So Diana was preparing me like 2 years before school started to go to school. Teaching me how to read, write. All the kids were homeschooled. We all were homeschooled. My grandmother was big on education. Florence Ballard was big on education. That's why I had encyclopedia kits and everything. So that's the reason why I was able to dial 0 for help. Back then it was still dialing 0. It wasn't 911. Dialing 0 for help. I used to do that shit a lot and play on the phone with the operator all the damn time, though. And he used to call back a lot. I used to say, hello, 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 hello. And back then it was the switchboards, when they were pushing in switchboards. That was my job at school, too. When I got in high school, I did a switchboard job as the operator. It was funny. Fun. I had a jobs over the years. Um, Mental illness. I never saw it. I never saw mental illness in my mother, Florence Ballard. I never saw it. I didn't see mental illness. She never abused me. She never yelled at me. She never slapped me. She never punched me. She never grabbed me. She never grabbed me by my hair. She never said, I hate you. She never did any of those things. She was loving. She was sweet. She kept a clean house. She kept herself clean. She kept us clean. She got my hair combed. She made dinner. You know, my mom, made things like hot dogs and stuff. And she tried her best to make chicken. She went and got Betty Crocker cookbooks and stuff like that. I used to come home from school and have homemade donuts. I miss those donuts. They were whole donuts. Made with brown sugar and cinnamon in the bowl and Indian apples. In my mother's autopsy report, they said that she had brown substance in her stomach. That brown substance had to be her last meal she had. Her last meal with me was Golden Grahams. Golden Graham cereal was a new cereal that had just came out on the market. And I love graham crackers. And she bought Golden Graham cereal because it had honey on it and it was sweet. And I love sweet cereals. So I think that was the brown substance that they found in her stomach. It had to be the Golden Graham cereal that they found. That must have been her last meal. So there are things that I want to talk about my mother's death, my father's death, because Nicole Chapman got on the news with Mary Wilson, and they was on the news with the autopsy report. And everything. And I have my mother's autopsy right here. And she was up there talking about how she called for help. Our grandmother. So I wanted to do this video podcast because of the haters out there and people saying that I'm not real. I know my mama. I was at the funeral, front seat. That's me sitting on my Uncle Richard's lap. And Michelle next to me. And one of the other little girls that you saw with the big bow, that's not Michelle. That's my cousin Doreen. She got a photo shoot too. As soon as I got to the front of the church, I saw her sitting there. I said, Doreen, what you doing here? Her name is not Michelle. That's Doreen. Doreen. That's my cousin.
be having attitude problems because I just don't like liars, and I just get tired of people trying to come up, make money, get over, call me a liar, call me a fake, change documents and stuff like that. So people want to, I guess, call themselves changing the game or whatever they do. I don't need to change nothing because I am who I am. I ain't got to modify anything. So there's a lot of things I just wanted to discuss and talk about. I mean, it's just the right thing to do. And then I'm going to do it. I got a lot of stuff, but it's all worth it. Why is it worth it? It's because my mom has fans out there. There are people who always wanted to know. There were relatives, I guess, who died who never knew. And people did what they wanted to do for money or whatever they need to do. And I just think it's just best that just lay this to rest. It's no different than laying it to rest like Michael Jackson has fans to lay it to rest. And that's what I'm doing, to lay it to rest. And I just wanted to do that, you guys, because it's just something to do. Something to do. So, we got these reports, and hold on one second. I'm going through all this shit while y'all on the thing. Let me pause this for a minute. Okay, I'm back. Found some of the documents that I wanted to talk about. It's for the fans and some people that wanted to always know information. Again, I'm Florence Ballard's daughter, Variety Chenevert, also known as Nicole Ballard, Renee Ballard. Back in the day, some of these people called me Rosalind. Okay, I'm going to be reviewing my mother's Florence Ballard autopsy report. Before I get to that, that's me, right here. I was very, very, very alert. Very alert. And when I say that I was alert, I heard her voice. I heard her voice. And I was looking up at her, trying to see with my blind, nearsighted self. I'm still nearsighted. I was born nearsighted. My grandfather was nearsighted. I got it from him, but this is me. I was born brown skin, not light brown. 4 pounds, 13 ounces, and 21 inches at 1 o'clock a.m. in the morning on a Sunday morning. Sagittarius, born 2 months early. Premature, not 2 weeks early. 2 months early. I was supposed to be due in February, but I was born in December the 17th, 1967. Even though this article is printed for 68, I don't know why. 68 of October. I just think that she needed time to bond with me or something. I think she needed bonding time. Even though they said it was in October, just not in October. I don't know what was going on with that. I'm definitely know that I was born in December. Everyone, all of my cousins and I celebrate my birthday in December. Abraham's birthday is in December. Abraham Miller's birthday is in December. Eddie Kendrick's birthday is December 17th. Abraham Miller's birthday is December 17th, and my cousin Desi is December the 21st. We all celebrated our birthday in December. I am a Sagittarius. I'm born in December. Oh my God, my eyes. What is going on here? Okay. Okay, this right here is me. The other child is Michelle. Okay, I was very, very alert. I wore cloth diapers. Okay, as you can see, my mom's name says, no, you can get the article, but it says Florence Ballard. She wasn't married then. My mother wasn't married when she had me. That's why it says Florence Ballard. Even though people use their maiden names, and maybe they use their names as a star or whatever, or their husbands, my mom was unmarried. That's why I said it. I'm sorry. This is real. Podcast live. Okay. Florence Ballard. That's what it says. You see that? Okay. My name, you could barely see it, but it's spelled Nichole, not Nicole. Very different from the other person, Nicole Chapman. It's spelled Nicole. It's not, she doesn't spell her name like that. Maxine is her mama. She spells her name without an H. We had a lot of cousins, a couple cousins named Nicole. So let me get to this. They said in my mother's death certificate, autopsy. By the way, I'm a public notary for the state of California, so I can validate and notarize documents, and also I can recognize fraud documents. As far as I'm concerned, this is a fraud document. Why do I feel this is a fraud document? I feel that this is a fraud document for the fact that they added Ballard and Chapman and two different types of typing fonts. The typing font is different from the one that says Glenda Chapman. Ballard was added on top later in a different typing font. Strike one. Another thing is, I attended my mother's funeral. This autopsy is the long version autopsy. It doesn't mention anything about the scars on her legs. The bruises on her legs that were on her legs that were purple from her ankles, calves, going all the way up to her knees were webs of scars on her legs, and they do not mention it in its autopsy. Autopsy report, television show, didn't show that, didn't mention any of that. I'm her child. I went to the funeral. I walked right past that casket and looked at her feet and saw all them bruises on her. They don't say anything about the cereal of her last meal on his autopsy. The address I don't feel is accurate either. That's in my book. Negro. On her autopsy, Negro. My mother was Native American. She was multicultural. I just assumed they just called everyone Negro back then. The person that signed for the funeral home is named Denise. Denise with an M. Got a lot of Denises in the family, whether they were by marriage or by blood. That's it. That's what I'm going to say about that. Moving on to the next item. We're going to move on to hold on for a second. This is real. Hold on 1 minute. Okay. The item that I'm moving on to now is the guardianship. Make sure this is the right one. Let me turn you guys off one more time. I'm sorry. Now, this person I'm talking about now is Thomas Chapman. Thomas Chapman was supposed to be my father. He was supposed to be the husband of my mother, Florence Ballard. This is a live podcast with Akashi Media Podcast Live Variety Chenevert. I am the daughter of the late Florence Glenda Ballard, the founder of the Supremes and the Primettes of Motown, Hitsville. This is for the fans because there are a lot of things that people want to know about the death of my mother. Thomas Chapman filed, after my mother's death, an acknowledgement of parentage for one child, not married, 1979. 3 years later, a minor. And then two, 1976, a few days after her death, he filed for the will and things like that. He didn't file for 3 kids. He filed for 1 at that time. I'm going to put you on hold one more time because I have to grab on other documents that's pertaining to my guardianship when I was a minor. 1 second. I'm back. I'm going to continue on to give some excerpts, explanations of things that's in my book that's titled Famous and Broke, Broken Famous. My mother, Florence Ballard. When the lights went down, they called her Penny. Things that I'm talking about in my book. Please pick it up soon. So many things or details are for the fans, and so many details are for those who are relatives that may still be alive. A lot of relatives have died. So I'm getting back to talking about the guardianship of my life, Nicole Ballard. I'm Nicole Ballard. I'm also known now as Variety Chenevert. And I'm talking about the autopsy of my mother, Florence Ballard. I'm talking about my guardianship with my grandmother and other relatives that stepped up to be guardians. I was there. The one thing about this guardianship is that I had to identify in court who the women were in court. The judge was a woman, and she asked me, do you know who they are? Do you recognize them? Do you know them? The guardianship that took place, my mother was not present. My mother was not there. In the courtroom, she was absent. Excuse me, I need to cough. I'm back. My mother, Florence Ballard, was not present in the courtroom during guardianship. I had to identify the women in the courtroom. I had to give their names and their relationships to my mother. My mother was not there. I really don't remember my grandmother being there. I remember my mother's, I thought it was her friend that was there, or someone who was like more like a sister-in-law. But they went to court without my mom. And that was 1975, September, a month after my father died. They did not want my father to have custody of me. They were fighting me. They were fighting against him and Berry Gordy. Because Berry Gordy also wanted to take me to California. Because he was moving Moortown to California. And everyone was following to California. Berry Gordy said, I deserve to have the right to live a good life like all the rest of the other kids. He was not trying to underprivilege me. He wanted me to have a good life like everyone else, Rhonda and everyone else. This guardianship took place in September 15th, 1975. My mother wasn't present in the courthouse. Why not? Why would my mother want to have guardianship given to 3 women and not be there to talk for herself? In September, a month after my father died. Now, getting to my father. My father's real name is Lawrence Jones. He died 6 months before my mother did. Here's his death certificate. Eight 1975, my father died. He couldn't have possibly been in the courtroom holding me on his lap. He was deceased already. Michigan death report. My mother was unmarried to my father. His wife was named as Deborah, last name unknown. We knew a lot of Deborahs, just like a lot of people know a lot of Dianas and Dianes. And my father's name was Lawrence Jones. My mama's man. And I'm not his only child. He has 7 other daughters. And we all know him. And he lived with me and Florence Ballard. Now, I am the real Nico. Regardless, if he just stuck on being light-skinned or light-complected people or whatever, that's your issue. But my daddy died 6 months before my mother. Let me show you this one more time. Gunshot wound to the abdomen. He died with other people. He didn't die alone. People have even been saying currently on my YouTube that now they're opening up a reinvestigation case on how Paul Williams died. Because they said he was standing drinking something and he was supposed to have shot himself with the hand he had his drink in. According to what they said on my YouTube page. Akashi Media, channel 1217. I'm Nicole Ballard. One of the homes that I lived at was spending the night at with one of her friends. I found a gun outside. I picked it up and I gave it to the person. So, there's a little bit of information that I just want to share with you all that's in my book. Please pick it up, a copy, to read the remaining information that's in my book. Famous and Broke, Broken and Famous. My mother, Florence Ballard, when the lights went down, they called her Penny, not Blondie. I'm a daughter out now. Anyway, let me go on and do my thing today. It's been over an hour. I hope you all feel a little bit more satisfied. Because I know you're going to say something nasty about me. Like you always do. I got plenty of haters. My daddy's birthday is June the 5th. Floyd Mayweather is fighting on June 6th. The way Floyd Mayweather looks right now, he looks just like how my dad looked for some strange reason. Crazy women in our lives back then was named Gail and Marlene. Funny how deja vu works. Because now Floyd Mayweather Jr. has a girl in his life named Gayleen. That's my Tom Thumb marriage husband that my daddy approved me to marry. I love him. And when we got married, we married at zero with no money. I'll take that back. I'm a Native American, Alaskan, African, Kenyan, Indian as well, biracial, biculture. I was getting $10,000 a month at the time as well. So, Floyd and I had money back then. I won't say we were totally zero. But anyway, I know he has other women right now. But if anyone is out there and you planning any shit like randomly, like you just really want to do things in Detroit like you've been doing with my daughter Kristen, I'm gonna let you know. I'm on to you. I see through it all. Because you still right here from the 1970s. You dressing my daughter like Maxine and everything. I see through it. My daughter doesn't have anything to do with anything that happened in the 1970s. So I'm the original creator of Set It Off and Booty Call, so I really think people just feel like they just have something to finish off. You best believe I'm going to do everything I can to provide for my family and protect them. That's why I'm going viral, and I don't care if you all don't believe me or take my word for it. I live this shit. I lived through the jealousy, the hate, everything. I lived through it all. You hated me, you hated my daddy, and you hated my mama. Couldn't stand to see her on TV. Couldn't wait for her to get out the group. And then on top of that, you guys talked about my mama so bad that she had $16,000 saved up for a house and piggy banks. Y'all was out there running y'all mouths and y'all was all that. But you stopped talking when it was really you that was on the welfare. Anyway, I hope you all pick up my book because I do be having these personality acts. Because I lived through this shit. That's my mother. And I will always defend my mother. This is Variety Chenevert for Akashi Media Podcast Live. The daughter of Florence Ballard, Flo Baby, 1217, Po Child, Supreme Child. Thank you for tuning in. Till next time.